Right guys, it's going to be a video regarding the Umbral weapons and the Umbral system, as that's going to be going away at the end of this season, as it's unique to this season. So I want to show you a lot of the best roles you can get for solo play. You can associate with team play as well, but mainly focusing as if you're solo, when considering all these roles and the god roles and what perks to look out for each weapon, because there's a lot of good weapons within the Umbral Engrams, sorry. So we'll cover each weapon. Even if that weapon's bad in PVE, I'll still try to give you like the best take on it. So we'll cover it engram by engram. So the first engram is Whispering Slab and the sword called Temptation's Hook, which is a caster frame sword unique to this sword only. It's the only sword in the game that has this frame. So with these two weapons, I'll cover the bow first. So with the bow, I'm not going to go through every perk that you can get because it's going to take too long over the video. I don't want it too long. So I just want to state the highlights of each weapon, what the best perks are. I won't be going too much into barrels. Only depending on the weapon, like grenade launcher, yeah. But with like a bow and a scout, a bow and a scout or a pulse. I'm not going to talk about the shaft or the muzzle and all that stuff so much. It's more about the perks. So with the first column, for Whispering Slab, you want Archer's Tempo. That is the best perk to get in that tree. Then, out of the second tree, there's three options I would say that are the best top picks. You have Vorpal Weapon, Unrelenting, and Demolitionist. There are other good perks in that tree, I understand it, Sympathetic Arsenal, all that stuff. But these are the best ones. So just to demonstrate this bow, now obviously overload arrowheads in the game. If it's not next season, then obviously it doesn't apply as much. But if overload is on bows, then it's always going to be the best weapon to deal with champions. So imagine this yellow bar in front of us is a champion. We can keep hitting that champion over and over, get Archer's Tempo, and get Vorpal Weapon. So not only are we continually overloading that champion, we're getting Archer's Tempo to proc, so we're getting quick damage out. For a primary, it's very, very good. And it saves on your heavy, it saves on your special, which is important for ammo management in solo play. So, this role of Archer's Tempo Vorpal is top tier. Okay? So that's the first role. The next role is Unrelenting. The same combo, but with Unrelenting. So we get health regen off enemies. This is very good in PvE play, because if you've got the modifier on attrition or togetherness, which comes up a lot, let's be honest, then we can utilize that. We can take it to our advantage. I'll just get this champ weak. Show you what we mean. Obviously we can trick it off miners as well, which requires rapid kills, but we can get it off one kill as well. So I'll use this grenade launcher to get us weak. You can imagine that we're in an end game activity. Our shields break. Then we get a yellow bar, might be a nightmare in a nightmare hunt, something like that. Get a kill, instant health regen, and it procs it, and it just goes up. It's not a chunk of HP, you just get it go right up like that. Unrelenting's a top tier perk, so it's worth mentioning. The last role is Demolitionist. Now, ideally you want, like I said, Archer's Tempo here, and then have a Demolitionist. So I haven't got the best Demolitionist bow right here, but just showing you Demolitionist perk. Obviously if I was running like a disciplined build, it would be better than what it is, you know, what I'm showing you. Obviously we can nade a target, then use our primary to get grenade energy. Like I said, if we were actually using a disciplined build, then this would be way quicker. It's actually stronger from a special weapon than it is a primary, but at the end of the day it's our primary, and we're getting grenade energy from a primary. That's very powerful. Okay? So that's the other role, I would say. But that's all I want to mention about the bow. Pretty much that's straight up and down with that. For the arc sword, like I said, it has a caster frame. It's unique to the sword itself. It does this ranged attack. So it's a sword that does from range. It's really good for that. The best role that you want for this sword, like I said, there's other perks, sword perks that people like, but this is the most versatile perks that's going to work everywhere in the game, not just for certain instances. So the first thing is that you want a good edge. Okay, there's different edges in the game. There's some that are more efficient on ammo. There's some that increase sword damage. There's some that greatly increase sword damage. Jagged edge is the highest. Horned edge is the second highest, but has a little bit more ammo. So just trade off with that. But jagged edge is the best because it increases more impact. We're going to have a load of sword ammo. Like, you can literally treble our sword ammo. So if we've got 51, you can treble that with relentless strikes. So just think about that for a second. If we weren't to do a heavy attack and we would be able to hit a boss, we can essentially treble our sword ammo. So ammo's not a problem. So we can do jagged edge. We don't really need enduring blade. Then we have whirlwind blade here. So every time we're getting a stack, every time we're getting a strike with the sword, we're getting a stack, which stacks to 5 times to a maximum buff. We can get an instant buff on bosses, which isn't as high, but it's instant. So vorpal weapons might be better in some instances. Like on a champ, as that buffs, you know, it kicks in right off the bat. Whirlwind blade takes a little time to wind up. But they're both top tier. There are other sword perks like counter attack or flash counter, but them sword perks are more specific to a build or to a certain situation. Generally you want relentless strikes, whirlwind blade. Obviously your masterwork when you get the best sword. For 10 impact, you get more impact, you can put a boss spec, so that all stacks. And Swordmaster's Guard is the one you want, so you get an increased charge rate for your heavy attack, which I do not have on this sword. So, one last thing, I'll just show you with the trick, the sword trick. If you're not in equipment locked activity, you can get more sword ammo and get jagged edge. So we have Enduring Guard on, which gives us 65, means we have less sword ammo. Go to the right weapon. But we can change it to jagged edge, and we retain our ammo, like so. So that's really good. That's a neat little trick. It's been around since day one. As you can see, amazing on bosses. I mean, this sword isn't as efficient as other swords in the game, so I wouldn't recommend this sword over some of the other swords. But the thing is, it is a ranged attack, and it costs 8 sword ammo. I think that's what they've done to balance the sword out. Because if it was the same as other swords, it'd probably be better because it's ranged. So that's the deal with the Temptations Hook and the Whispering Slab. So with the next engram, we have Cold Denial and Falling Guillotine. So with the Cold Denial, it's a high impact pulse rifle. And basically this is a very good weapon in PVE. People might not be aware. But essentially, in this tree here, you want whatever suits your playstyle. So alloy magazines, nice. Flared magwell's really good. You can get high caliber rounds. You can get armor piercing rounds. You can get ricochet rounds, which is increasing range, which is really good. Anything that you think's the best, there's no yes or no with that. I like flared magwell because it synergizes with what I'm using, like on my roll. This tree, this column, the best perk in PvE is Feed and Frenzy for this. It does stack up, you've got to stack it up. You don't get it instant like it used to be. So we'll just quickly show you that. You can get it ×2, ×3, ×4. I think it's ×5 maxes out. Yeah, so ×5, it's really quick at that. Not only that, it synergizes well with what we're using, the Feed and Frenzy multi-kill clip, which is higher than Rampage, it's higher than Kill Clip, it's higher than... like Swashbuckler takes time, so I would recommend multi-kill clip, because Swashbuckler, you know, fair enough if you're using a melee build, yeah, you're going to be able to make it work. But a pulse rifle is a ranged weapon, so what do you want to be doing? You want to be reloading quick and shooting. Every time you're reloading, you're getting that damage buff. Also, we're getting flared magwell buff with that. This to me is the best roll on this pulse. We can also get Unrelenting in this tree, I believe. So same as what I said with the bow. If you want to have an Unrelenting style weapon, which I would advise getting an Unrelenting style of every weapon you can, yeah, because that perk is like a mini Red Death. This roll here, I would say, is the best for Cold Denial. I'm not going to cover the muzzle and all that stuff. On with the next. So we have Falling Guillotine, which is getting nerfed. The heavy attack, so it's Vortex Frame, which is basically Dark Drinker from day one. So same with the other sword. We want Jagged Edge, Swordmaster's Guard, Relentless Strikes, Whirlwind Blade. If we could have counterattack in this second, like if I'd got this sword later on in the season when the sword was dropping with 2 additional perks, then I would have had Whirlwind there and counterattack to mix between the two. But I didn't. This roll I got like literally week 1 of this season. But like I said earlier, Whirlwind Blade's more versatile than counterattack or flash counter or what have you. So you want a more versatile weapon because you're playing solo. When you're playing solo, you need to be covering all bases, and this does. Yeah, you can't go wrong with this roll. There's not much else to say about it. Swordmaster's Guard is even more it's going to be more potent than now because the heavy charge rate is getting nerfed, meaning that if we can get it increased by any amount, then that's hugely beneficial. Not the charge rate, sorry, the damage of the heavy attack is getting nerfed, my apologies. But still getting up, a heavy attack's always going to be better than a light attack, so getting that up more often than not is always good. That's the rolls on that. I don't think I need to show you how this sword works. I think we're sick to death of seeing this sword at this point. But it is a really powerful sword, the most powerful sword in the game, I'm sure. So that's those rolls. Okay, so with the next engram, we have False Promises and Hollow Worlds. So Hollow Worlds being a fusion rifle and False Promises being a kinetic auto, which is a high impact frame, which aren't getting nerfed at all. Not to my knowledge next season. So these auto rifles in PVE, they generally have a lot of range, which is what we want in endgame. Now, nothing's to say that anti-barrier is going to be on auto rifles next season, but if it is still, and we can interchange these mods, and this is one of the, this to me is one of the best auto rifles in the game for PvE, endgame. Not so much running and gunning because it's so slow, but in endgame it doesn't matter about being slow because it's hard hitting. The enemies have more health, so a high impact frame is beneficial. So this tree has the general stuff that you would see, armor piercing rounds, high caliber, flared magwell, alloy mag, extended mag, like I could run an extended mag, which actually isn't bad. But I generally like a light mag because, or any sort of reload beneficial perk right here, because the reload's so slow. But it's suiting your playstyle, whatever suits your playstyle with these. But the perks itself, in this tree here, the best perk by far is Overflow. What Overflow does is, when you pick up a special or a heavy brick, you get your auto rifle to be overflowed, and it has a lot of bullets. With it being a high impact frame, having a high mag, like you could break shields for days. You could break 2 or 3 anti-barrier shields, like in one mag, 64 bullets, so we can shoot forever. Plus of how slow and hard it hits, we're gonna have ammo, for days, basically. So Overflow, like, cause you're often picking up special ammo. So, like you can see, every time you're picking up, you're just getting it, which is all, so it's proccing often enough to warrant using it, having it. In this column, anything that suits your playstyle. So, we have Unrelenting. If you have a Unrelenting Overflow weapon for the False Promises, keep it. That's probably one of the best endgame auto rifles that you're going to have. Okay? That's providing, like I said, anti-barrier is going to be on this weapon. If you have like a damage dealing perk here, that's also good. I have Rampage, so I'm getting some damage buff, which is always nice to have. Okay? But other than that, the Surrounded, which isn't that good, because this is a long range auto rifle, almost pulse rifle range. You're not playing close to ads so much. So Surrounded or Swashbuckler, to me, aren't as useful, I would say. So, as you can see, the range stats nearly max. So this is very, very, very good auto rifle for endgame. The next weapon is Hollow Words. Not Worlds, Words. So, the best roll that you can have, I believe, is something to up the mag size and impact. So we've got enhanced battery, but looking at the combinations, we've got projection fuse, which increases range, accelerated coils, that's more PvP. Enhanced battery, which is more PvE to me, because it's a bigger magazine size and whatnot. Then we've got ionized battery, which greatly increases the magazine but decreases the reload speed. Then we've got liquid coils, which is the highest. So I think liquid coils will probably be best in this perk tree. And the other one, particle repeaters for stability. That's PvP. So you want either liquid coils or enhanced battery. Accelerate coils is more PvP. It's more, you know, faster charge. You don't need a faster charge time in PvE. This column right here, I believe the best perk would be either Feeding Frenzy or Lead from Gold. So Lead from Gold, every time you pick up special or heavy, no, every time you pick up heavy you get special weapon, which isn't often in this game. You're not often picking up heavy, so I would say Feeding Frenzy is better for more. It's proccing all the time. Then in this combination you have Vorpal Weapon, Disruption Break. There is Sympathetic Arsenal. Like I said, I don't value that perk so much. There's Unrelenting, which would be really good. Backup Plan, not so much. Not for PvE. So the best three I would say, Disruption Break, Vorpal, Unrelenting. And Vorpal, as we've discussed, does increase damage to yellow bars. Disruption Break is really good because we can blind, you know, if we match a shield, which I don't think this is going to be accurate. We get a blind. Generally, in an activity, that enemy will be blinded, which he isn't there. You break a shield, that enemy would then be incapacitated, meaning you could hit him with whatever you had, you know, and that's really good for endgame. Say if you've got a lot of arc shields in a nightfall, Disruption Break's really good. But I would still say Vorpal might be better. It depends what you're doing. Either or. This fusion rifle's not the best in my eyes. But if fusions get a buff, it might well be. Which is a precision frame. So, that's another one. We have a range masterwork on it, so if I do end up masterworking it, that's always handy. Having the most range as much as you can on a fusion helps. Just means you can play from a longer range and get that similar damage output. So that's those weapons. Okay, so now with the next set of weapons, which is the Seraph Engram, which provides a Seraph SMG and a Seraph shotgun CQC. So this is the shotgun. As far as perks, I'm not going to talk about the barrels. Like I said, I'm not talking too much about barrels or chokes or muzzles. That would deserve a video on its own, which I'm not going to get into really. I'm more about the perks. So the perk set in this tree here, you want something to benefit you for the mag size. Like you can see, if I put steady rounds on, you know, I get less in the mag. So the obvious choice for PvE is extended mag. If you can get assault mag, that would be beneficial because it increases the rate of fire. You'll get 1 round less, I believe, but it would increase the rate of fire. So that would be a good choice. But just anything that suits your playstyle in this column. The perks, the first column, auto load and holster, is the best perk. So when we holster the weapon, we get a reload, meaning we can swap to another weapon, do DPS, then swap back. So we're getting uptime on the weapon here. Also, in the last column, the best two perks are Trench Barrel, Vorpal Weapon. Trench Barrel, after a melee hit, we get increased weapon damage. It's buffing the shotgun, not buffing the melee. We're using the melee to buff the shotgun, but you can only do it for 3 shots, then you've got to reapply it. Vorpal Weapon, you don't need to do this. It's a flat buff against champions. Champions or yellow bars or bosses. So Vorpal Weapon could be better in some instances, and Trench Barrel could be better in certain instances. For example, if I'm on Arc Strider, this would be really good. So how this could work is basically, we would apply the buff, get the 3 shots, melee again, get the 3 shots. We also produce a cell, because it's a weapon. But what we could do then is damage with the sword, swap back, get a melee, and we also get the cell, which I believe does 1 shot, So this would be really good. So it's major that this weapon can produce a cell. I haven't compared it so much to the IKELOS, but it does feel a little harder hitting. Obviously it's a different sort of frame, but this shotgun is, in my books, you know, one of the best. And because it can generate a cell, that's huge. Because cells, you know, any weapon that can generate a cell, it elevates it massively. The other rule, like I said, was vorpal weapons, so it would just be doing what we're doing before. Which I believe this does have auto on as well. Yes, it does. There is lead from gold, I think, on this weapon, but like I said, I don't value that perk so much because it doesn't proc. It procs off heavy itself, right? I'll just check the perks on this one to see. We have assault mag, which we don't, but we do have light mag. So light mag wouldn't have much synergy. So this barrel option right here on this one isn't the best. Yeah, well, that's like I said. You want to have either a extended mag or something, or assault mag. This is auto-loading vorpal. Same thing would apply, but there's no melee. We can do our shotgun shots. Do our sword, and it's reloaded. So that's the beauty of that shotgun. Moving on to the SMG. So the SMG is interesting because its arc type is a 600 RPM, different to what Recluse is and different to the IKELOS SMG. It is arc like the arc one, but it can produce a cell. This is huge. Now my rule here is I've got full bore. The full bores for that max range. Accurized rounds, which again is more range, 4 times the charm, and vorpal weapon. So this is a ranged SMG. Okay? It has way more range than the other archetype, and this weapon is designed for taking shields and a yellow bars. So this is an SMG, bear in mind, and it's hitting like, you know, like what an auto would, and it produces cells. So as you can see, pretty stable. It does move a little bit, but this weapon is more for taking out yellow bars and mages rather than ad clear. If I was putting an enhanced SMG loader on though, it wouldn't be so bad. It wouldn't be so bad. So this SMG, like I said, is interesting. I'll just look quickly on what we've got for this perk wise. So the column for your mag, or for these, you know, for the accurized rounds part, things we have like a flared mag, well, alloy, magazine, all that sort of stuff. Drop mag would be a good option for this. So I would say drop mag or accurized rounds are the best two options for that. You don't want to be buffing up your magazine size too much because we've got 4 times the charm, so there's not much gain from that. Second column, or the first perk column, we have Ambitious Assassin, Firmly Planted, Pulse Monitor. Pulse Monitor could work out alright, but again it's not that really good. Ambitious Assassin, this weapon's not, it doesn't have a large enough magazine size for it, so it's no good. And the next column, the only perk I could see that would be really good is Dragonfly. Fiend Frenzy, you could just put an enhanced SMG loader and you get, you know, similar results. You don't need to have Fiend Frenzy on this. It's not much synergy with the 4 times the charm really. This is a better synergy having these two. Dragonfly will be good as well for running and gunning. It's an SMG, you know, so I think this would be the best role for the Seraph SMG. That's the next set of weapons. They are focused on Season of the Worthy that we had, which was the kinetic sidearm Breachlight and the Grain Launcher Martyr's Retribution. So the Martyr's Retribution, what you want to do is spec for highest velocity, as high as you can. That's generally the play. Not so much blast rays because the wave energy is going to do the work anyways. So you want to spec for that. There's not many perk choices in this column anyways, so just whatever really. I just put high velocity on. But for these two perks, you want Field Prep, Demolitionist. Now this is going to synergize with certain builds, because basically this Grain Launcher is something that's like a wave, like a thermite grenade. You know, so you hit the floor like that, it's like a thermite. If you were to use this with Hallow Fire Heart on a Titan with a Sunbreaker bottom tree, it means that you're gonna always have you know, that sort of playstyle. Plus you got Demolitionist. Like so. That's stacking together. Plus we can get a cell of solar splash damage, which does work with Martyr's Retribution. And it works with the solar nade. So you're getting your cells up, you need Wrath of Rasputin for that. You're getting your nade up all the time, and you'll be able to spam this nade launcher. It's for ad clear, not so much for boss damage. It doesn't do a lot of boss damage. Paired with other weapons, yeah, I could see it doing a bit of damage. Another role would be with auto and holster, but it's not as good because the wave energy doesn't last nearly long enough. So say I was to do that, you can see that the wave didn't even last that long. But that is a role as well, just to show. Not much else to talk about with that nade launcher. The sidearm, the kinetic sidearm. So there's some interesting roles with this. My role is drop mag, threat detector, and multi-kill clip. Okay. So this weapon will be based on ad clear. So just clearing ads. Plus multi-kill clip does a hell of a lot of damage. As you see, so this will be a run and gun playstyle. Other roles that you could have for the Breachlight. So you could have more of a range type role with accurized rounds here, which it does have, or you know, flared mag will, but we've got drop mag on, so can't go wrong with that. As for the next perk set, we have Demolitionist, Underdog, Outlaw, Under Pressure, and Hipfire Grip. Now, Demolitionist would be really good. Demolitionist and multi-kill clip, so you're getting the best of both worlds. Plus we've got drop mag on anyways. So this role isn't the best role I could have got. I could have got, like I said, Demolitionist, multi-kill clip. On the last perk set, we have Osmosis, Quick Draw, Vorpal Weapon, Rampage, Elemental Capacitor. The best one is depending on what you're doing. For ad clear, multi-kill clip. For Nightfalls, you could run Osmosis, meaning that we can cover 3 burns. So for example, say I did have Osmosis on, and I'm on a solo subclass, and I had a Arc on, so we've got Void Arc, but we also have Solar when we throw a nade, because we've got Osmosis. Meaning we have all 3 burns covered, meaning you can solo Nightfalls with match game on, and it's not a problem to you. You've got all the burns covered. Yeah, you could take it down with a nade anyways, but say there's a lot of solar shields, then you can throw a nade and have your solar primary for a bit. So that's real powerful. Vorpal Weapon would be, but like I say, I think a multi-kill clip suits this weapon really good. Demolitionist, multi-kill clip, Demolitionist would probably be the best role for this sidearm. So that's those weapons. Okay, the next engram will be covering the Gambit weapons, which do have a power handicap of 1360, even though the legacy, which is really nice, so it means we can use them for a long time. So first of all, I'll cover the Lonesome sidearm, which I'm not a fan of. It's a 260 RPM sidearm, so it's a high impact sort of thing. Slow firing, I'm not a huge fan of it. How it compares to Breachlight, that is slightly faster. This is more what I would prefer over this. But the role that I have is Rapid Hit Demolitionist, which is really simple. So every time we're getting precision hits, we're getting a good target, getting a good reload. Like, not bad. It's hard hitting and stuff. It's just I'm just not a massive fan or a huge fan of this sidearm. But we can also play that Demolitionist role of always getting our nades up. So I could use it in a build like that, but I wouldn't say it's the best weapon for endgame. I have extended mag on it, which it does have a low mag as it is. So if you can get anything with a higher mag size in this perk set, is handy. Overall, the god roll I would say, looking at dim, would be in the first perk column here, would either be Rapid Hit or Outlaw or Overflow. I would say Outlaw will be the play because Outlaw is going to get buffed. The Outlaw will be the play for that. And for the second column would be either Demolitionist or Multi-Kill Clip. So if you rock a Multi-Kill Clip, it would be similar to what my Breachlight was. So you could have Multi-Kill Clip, Outlaw. That would be probably the best role you could have on this weapon for ad clear. Yeah, like I said, it's not the best sidearm in the world. Breachlight and other sidearms are much better in my eyes. There'll be some people that like it and some people that don't. If you can get a range masterwork as well, that's going to help it out. The more range, the better for a weapon, for a close quarter weapon like this. I won't talk much more about it as I don't really use that weapon often. Bad Omens is one that I used to use a lot though, and there's various different roles depending on your playstyle. Okay, so first of all, with the perks, I've always been the type that prefers more velocity over blast radius. The bigger blast radius, the more likely you are to clear adds. Okay, so that's the biggest thing. However, blast radius does not affect cluster bombs. Cluster bombs are cluster bombs. They don't affect it. Like back in the days, we done the test of Sins of the Past versus Curtain Call, and Curtain Call and Sins of the Past cluster rockets were the same, but the impact of the rocket itself's larger on Sins because it's a high impact. It's a high blast radius rocket. I don't use rockets so much for ad clear and what have you, but the larger your blast radius, the better it is for ads. So if you are somebody that does, like in a Gambit match, you're using rockets here and there, you know, on ads, that's fine. You want a higher blast radius type rocket, so this wouldn't be the rocket for you. But if you want to be using your rocket for DPS, velocity is the better call for me. So that's what I would say. So something like hard launch, anything that's the best for velocity. If I just quickly look at what we have velocity wise, so we have volatile launch, confined launch, counter mass, hard launch, quick launch. I think hard launch and quick launch are the two best for velocity. So if you can get a velocity masterwork, I think that would be best. Like that would suit my playstyle more. There's two different playstyles with rockets. There's ad clear, which I understand, and then there's the DPS style of saving your rockets, and I'm somebody who saves heavy. I'm somebody who saves heavy and only uses it when I absolutely need to. For solo play. In a team though, you're letting your team down. This is the difference. If you're in a team and you're not using your heavy when you should be, you're letting your team down. Yeah? This is where there's two different play styles we're talking about. We're talking about team play and solo play. Solo play is a complete opposite approach to what a team play is. If you're conserving your ammo too much in team play, you're too slow. You're too slow in your Gambit team. Yeah? Or something like that. But solo play, you can take your time. You might need to for whatever reason. So having a DPS rocket for me is better than ad clear rocket. So I'll get that out of the way. This column you want impact casing, which I do not have. Black powder, I believe, increases blast radius. So if you went for a blast radius rocket, I guess black powder would be the play. I don't know everything about rockets because I barely use them, but just, you know, stating the obvious with them. But this, like I said, it's more with the perks. So we have an auto-load and cluster bomb rocket, which rockets are going to be getting a buff, 1 or 2 to reserves. But I would like to see a buff with magazine, if I'm being honest. We want to have tripod, we want to have double rockets, stuff like that, but they haven't mentioned that. Things could change. They might not have said everything that they want to say about the new updates, but this is a really good role, the auto-load and cluster. So again, just showing you that sort of playstyle. So we could, you know, rocket a boss, then switch to a fusion rifle, then we switch back to our rocket. So it's uptime on weapons, it's uptime on DPS. We don't never have to reload it. You don't have to worry about enhanced rocket loaders, nothing like that, because of auto loading. That's the rule there. There's various ways of taking Bad Omens. There is no yes or no with it. This rule's different. It's a tracking one. which could be good for bosses like Echo Kel that dodge. You know, sort of. He moves about a lot, even though he's only on a platform. Tracken's a handy perk to have, even in PVE. So track and cluster would be a good role. And again, utilizing something like hard launch, we'd have a velocity masterwork with an impact casing would be ideal. So I haven't got the absolute god roll yet for Bad Omens, but those are options. Other roles, if we look at dim, in the final column, always cluster bombs. Okay, so always cluster bombs there. That is the go-to perk. There is Genesis kill clip. None of that. No, always clusters, because it's doing a thing all the time. Whereas, you know, kill clip, you know, you're gonna have to get a reload, so you're gonna have to waste a rocket to get that buff. Field prep and clusters would be really good. So field prep here and then cluster bomb, because field prep gives you that much more ammo and it stacks with scavengers. So, you know, you can get like 4 rockets in 1 brick. So that rule will be really good as well. So there's a lot of give to Bad Omens. But that's just the roles I would suggest going after with those. Okay, so on this next engram it will be covering the Night Watch Scout Rifle and the Gnawing Hunger Auto Rifle. Now, I'm not going to cover these 2 weapons. You can get these from the Umbrals, but they're 1060 limit. And they're also very bad in PvE, so I'm not going to talk about them at all. Just to mention that, but switching to the weapons that we're indeed talking about. So the Night Watch Scout Rifle, there's many roles depending on what your playstyle is. That's what I would say. There's not the absolute yes or no on it. So I'm going to specify all the perks that you can get. I'm not really talking so much about these. This is just playstyle. If you want to run extended mag, run it. You know, you get the higher mag. Or if you want to get that better reload, and for 4 bullets less, you can. That's preference, but these perks here, I'll list what we can get in each column. So I have Subsistence Demolitionist, right? Which would be a real good role because we keep getting ammo back. And Scout Rifles have a lot of ammo, so we keep getting ammo back on kills, and also getting great energy back, or we could run it with multi-kill clip for that add clear potential. But like I say, the perks in the first column is Overflow. You can get Overflow, Subsistence, Outlaw, Rapid Hit, Snapshot, Threat Detector. I wouldn't say Threat Detector or Snapshot are good. Rapid Hit's really good. Outlaw was going to get buffed, so that'll be really good. Overflow, I've said about how good Overflow is in this game, so that would also be an option in this column. Subsistence means you barely reload, which I'll show you that in action. For this next column, we've got Explosive Payload, Rampage, Moving Target, Demo, Multi-Kill Clip. I would say Explosive Rounds would be the play, which I don't have yet. Probably deleted that many Night Watches, but I'll be able to refarm that up. So I would say Explosive Payload, Subsistence would be a solid role for what I would want. But like I say, it's up to yourself. So like you can see with Subsistence, activate this. Barely have to reload. As you can see, clearing out a lot of ads there before even having to reload. So Subsistence plus Demo is really good. And for Grenergy, obviously I could have done multi-kill clip. Same thing with that, but like I said, it's more preference. But as I said, I think Outlaw Explosive Rounds would be the play, because Explosive Rounds provides benefits in endgame content that other perks don't. It has a lot of unique things to it with Explosive Payload. With Gnawing Hunger, same again, there's a lot of different roles that are good and not good. This is the curated role, which you need to get from Reckoning. Okay, so if you want to get the curated role, you're not interested in any other role, which is Overflow Rampage. It's amazing because you get like a 100 round, as you can see, like nearly 100 rounds in this auto. We can shoot it, plus it's 600 RPM. Gnawing Hunger is getting nerfed, so it won't be as useful, but it's still going to be strong. Like, they've said they're nerfing it, but not as to like a certain season, I can't remember which season it was. It's still gonna be, you know, they're still gonna be usable. So that's the curated version. Other rules, I have a auto load and holster demolitionist rule, which I use a lot because this 600 RPM wrecks as it is. Put extended mag on, but I could have run drop mag for that, you know, increased reload and whatnot. And we've got auto load and holster there anyways, so we don't need to. We can swap to another weapon. Just depends on playstyle, but this is a rule I use a lot with Warlock synergy, or maybe Titan discipline build. There's a lot of things you can do. Another rule that is really good is subsistence and rampage. So we basically don't really need to get any, you know, reloads, especially that this weapon wrecks. Like, especially on miners, you can actually go up in ammo. So we're 33, now we're 38, so we're never reloading. As you can see, this roll right here essentially means no reloads at all. So that's a rule that's worth to be getting. There's other rules that you could get, like I'll just list all the perks. So the first column has for the Gnawing Hunger, Overflow, tap the trigger, Subsistence, Zen Moment, Field Prep, Auto Loading. Auto Loading and Overflow are the top two perks in that column. Field Prep will be alright, but I wouldn't say it's the best option on an auto rifle. And then on the next column, you've got Rampage, Kill Clip, Multi-Kill Clip, Demolitionist, Swashbuckler. I would say Multi-Kill Clip, Rampage, or Demo. Those are your best options with that order. So those are the roles for them. So on to the last final few set of weapons. We'll cover the extra engrams, which were added later on in the season. These two I'll cover, the sniper first and the heavy grenade launcher Berenger's memory. So the sniper first, the god roll I would say is 4 times the charm, high impact reserves. I'll list the perks that you get because it's an interesting sniper. First column we have triple tap, no distractions, moving target, 4 times the charm, feeding frenzy. Best one to get is either 4 times the charm or triple tap. Okay, just so that you can, you know, extend that boss damage. This is for solo. This is for PVE, sorry, not PvP. Then for the next column we've got box breathing, multi-kill clip, disruption break, high impact reserves, or quick draw. To play into this playstyle of this perk of, you know, keep getting ammo back, high impact reserves, that when we're on our, you know, latter end of our mag, we deal increased damage. The box breathing, yeah, you could start out with that shot as well, but I think high impact would be overall the better choice. It just depends on what you're doing, but you can essentially, if you put a backup mag in your IKELOS sniper, which I have, we've got 7, which we combine that, just basically, you know, this. You can hit 11 crits in a row, which I'll show you right now. We'll wait for the boss. As you can see, we just keep getting our crits. High impact rounds will then kick in. We just keep going. Really good sniper. 11 crits. You know, you can't go wrong with that. So it is a good option to use that if you've got a good kinetic primary or what have you. Like I said, you know, it suits to your playstyle, but I would say that's the best role you could get. Or you could lead with a box breathing shot and then do your 11 crits. Berenger's memory, pretty simple with these. Mainly you want auto load and holster and spike grenades. With as high velocity as you could probably get. The blast radius is welcome though, because it hasn't got much blast radius as it is. Not very good grenade launcher if I'm being honest. The Swarm of the Raven from Iron Banner is probably the better grenade launcher, and it's void. But same as what we've been doing all day in this video, we can, you know, spam, then damage with another weapon, then swap back. So, you know, there's not a lot to it. The main components is auto load and holster, spike grenades, and some good barrel options, and that's basically it with that weapon. Okay, so now on to the final set of weapons, and this will finish the video off. I realise it's really long, so I'm just going to close it out. This is IKELOS SMG, which can generate cells. It's an aggressive frame, completely different to the Seraph SMG, like in its archetype and everything. And this is more of a run and gun playstyle with this weapon. Yeah, I would say the other SMG has more range overall, and you know, is more utility with the 4 times the charm vorpal weapon. But this weapon's good for, like, say for example, like the Forest recently. Like, this is probably one of the best weapons for that, because it can generate a cell, it's quick fire rate, what have you, and it absolutely wrecks. So my role is tactical mag, threat detector, surrounded, or I can put demolitionist on. Surrounded works really good on this SMG because you're playing up close all the time, so you're getting that damage buff. It's just really good, you know, quick ad clear, which as you'll be able to see here. Plus we've got threat detector, which synergizes with surrounded. And we can get a cell, what have you, and you know, it's just a really good weapon to have. If you have Seraph rounds on this section, or accurized rounds, that'll do you better than what I had on for this. But you know, obviously I can re-farm up. Demolitionist roll works well if you need up your nade. If you need a nade a lot, I could switch to that rather than have the increased damage, have the nade energy. So just depends on what we're doing. Really good SMG, so you want to get, you know, the absolute best roll you can get for that one. The final roll that we have, the final weapon, sorry, is first in, last out. In my eyes, there's only one roll, and we have accurized rounds, so we got increased range on top of the range that it already has, with auto-load holster and vorpal weapon. Now, precision frame shotguns got a buff. It was a couple of seasons ago, like no one really like took notice, and they still aren't really taking notice. But this is a really good weapon, as it does really high damage from a range, as you can see. Plus we can spam it with auto loading, you know, so we can do our shots and then switch to another weapon. It's a real good play style. Obviously you need to wait until auto loading procs, you'll hear the audio cue, and then you can go back in with auto loading. Plus it's got vorpal on it, so it's doing increased damage to, you know, mages, yellow bars and bosses. Obviously we can put a correct mod in, so if we want to use backup mag, we could. If we want to use a boss spec or a major spec, whatever's, you know, suits for the job. First in, last out, one of the best shotguns in the game. I would say this and the CQC shotgun that I had earlier, and probably the IKELOS shotgun. That's from the Prophecy Dungeon. All those shotguns, they're really good. So that's the final roll. Like I said, there's not much other perks are going to benefit you for PVE. All these rolls that I showed you, considering that it's just for PVE, not talking about PvP at all, not talking about the muzzles, what have you, just my thoughts on all the rolls. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.